Hello, everyone. Welcome to this really exciting panel. I'm super excited because, as Jordana said, this is really a group of global change makers and innovators in the industry. I am Christopher Lacey. I'm an assistant professor at Parsons School of Fashion in the MPS Fashion Management program. I'm also host of Retail Revolution podcast, where we tackle issues around sustainability, community, retail, design, and all areas of fashion. And we were really fortunate to actually have Jordana on it twice because she was so amazing. So it's my pleasure to allow our panelists to do an introduction of themselves, and we'll start with Alfea. Alfea, can you hear me?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Alfea Ballerina. I'm an accessories designer. Yeah, I can hear you. Is it okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I think we're on that really cool delay as if we're
Hi everyone, my name is Okay, sorry. Hi everyone, my name is Alfea Ballerina. I'm an accessories designer based in Indonesia. I produce all my products in my studio with the help of local artisans. I also source all my materials in Indonesia.
Thank you, Alfea. Bea.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Bea. I'm Spanish, but I live in Indonesia, even though now I'm close to Barcelona. And I have a brand whose name is Keman, and we also work with local artisans in Indonesia, and then we produce vegetable tan bags and accessories. And I have a little bit of a different background because I'm not coming from a designer background, but more from an activism sort of background, working in international development. So maybe that's also something that we can bring in the conversation. I'm very happy to be here amongst you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bea. Diego.
Hello. So my name is Diego Vanessa. I'm very pleased to be here. And I'm originally from Brazil. I've been living in the UK for 15 years. Me and my partner, we run a brand called Vanessa Barra, based in the UK. We specialize in footwear. We used to showcase London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, and since last year, our brand has stopped wholesaling, and now we are direct consumer only, offering a flat price proposition.
It's fantastic. Jonathan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jonathan Cohen. I'm the co-founder and creative director of Jonathan Cohen. I found the company with my business partner, Sarah Leff. I'm based in New York City, and most of our products are made in New York. We focus a lot on textile development. I design all the textiles and really focusing on how we can reduce waste in our company.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
And Tomas, did we get you?
Oh, hey guys. My name is Tomas. I'm 35 years old. I'm the founder and creative director of Verdi. And Verdi is a Colombian textile studio that specializes in combining natural fibers with metals to create contemporary textiles with an artisanal heritage and contemporary. And we have three pillars, or we move in three worlds, which are home, fashion, and art. And well, I'm very excited to be here sharing the stage with all of you lovely people.
Thank you so much, Tomas. It's a pleasure to have you. So I want us to jump right in. And Alfea, I'm going to throw this first question to you, which is, when we consider the challenges facing designers today, really, what's the difficulty when you're designing and you're trying to produce sustainable products?
Okay. So to me, it gets pretty challenging when it comes to sourcing specifically for the hardware, because I do handbags. Like Indonesia, there are not a lot of people people who do hardware. So so when it comes to designing my bags, it kind of limit myself when I want, for example, I want a luxury sustainable chain on my bags, but I can't find it in Indonesia, unlike maybe you can find it in Italy or China. So that is one of the challenges. And also the packaging also, because we all know packaging is also sustainable. We all know packaging is not the most sustainable part of the products, because you just needed to package your products. So that's something that I'm actually working on. I met this lady in Indonesia who actually like upcycle like um, packagings from beverages and food packaging.
Okay.
So I like talking, but one of my issues though, the price gets even like more expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's true. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big part. When I talk to younger companies that are trying to go in a more sustainable route, and even what we kind of see in our company is sometimes the minimums can be very high for packaging products that are sustainable. Where like you just don't need that many things. So if you want to like just dive into if you just want to start slowly with your business and want to like get packaging, sometimes you have to buy into very heavy minimums, which then even creates a bigger product of creating waste. So it can be really challenging. And then that goes into even the textiles. When you're purchasing textiles that you're excited about and that are sustainable, sometimes the minimums can be extremely high, which people don't realize. Sometimes you have to buy into like thousands of meters before you can even think about it. So those are a lot of hurdles that you'll like come at when you're like starting a business, or even just when you're deep into your business.
Do either of you, or does anyone on the panel kind of think, what are some, if you were a designer starting out, because I'm sure there are some who are listening, what would be kind of some easy ways or some ways to kind of move the needle in the right direction? Because to both of your points, there are some serious challenges, whether it is geographical or monetary, to make this happen. So are there kind of some solutions that, or an avenue they can go down to get this information to do it?
May I?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So what we did is for me, one key word is partnership. What we did when we started, we could find ourselves some of the information, but some of the information we couldn't access it. So we tried to look for people to help us. And for instance, travel to Java and to look into the workshops where they are tanning the leather, or where the leather is coming from, to check them, to verify them in case we couldn't do it. So it was a way of having, the eyes and someone helping us in that process of sourcing. Because what I think is challenging is, and maybe because I come from that different background, is that before the work of the designer was very much the creative. All of a sudden, if you really if you commit to sustainability, you become you become a political figure in a way. So you cannot ignore, who you're working with, the materials that you use. So you have to open your eyes and know much more of that, So, and then sometimes, you need the help of others to help you navigate through the process and identify who are those partners that you can work with, especially in countries like Indonesia, where maybe you don't have the same standards. Maybe the legislation is not there, or it's not being enforced, So you really I really believe in those partnerships, in working with others to identify those pieces. Yes.
Yes, Tomas.
I have, Christopher, something I'd like to add of a story that happened to us last year. We actually work with 18 families in the central region of Colombia. It's called Curiti Santander, and that's where we source our fiber. And they actually dye it using mainly ecological dyes. But we've gone there several times. And last year, I went there with a chemical engineer, basically, just to see how they were dyeing everything. And we found several problems. One of them was then the house, let's say the families, the ladies, they were dyeing and they would swallow up all the smoke. Another one was that they were throwing the liquid or the dyes into the mountain after they were finished. And these are people that really don't know what's going on and what they're doing and the damage that they can create. So we actually embarked on a project to show them how to dye in a sustainable way. And we went to Curiti 4 times. But at the end, we were basically overwhelmed because we are a very small company and it's very hard to change the custom of a community who has been doing this for generations. So we went and got help from University of Los Andes. And this was going to be one of the projects for this year. but due to the circumstances, we had to postpone it for next year. But now with the help of the university, we're gonna set up a project and we're gonna go out and search for funds. And then hopefully with this, we're gonna be able to really make an impact. But I mean, that was going on. And if we hadn't gone there and seen for ourselves, you know, we wouldn't even have the opportunity to be able to help. So I think one of the main things that everyone can do is just try and go out of their way and see what they can really do to help. And that's what we're focusing on here at Verdi.
I'm glad you actually brought that up because, and Bea segueing us into that with the idea of partnerships. And when we think of partnerships, I think a lot of times we really only think of it in terms of just, you know, corporate to, you know, B2B. But there's also the other part where we do have to involve community. And Diego, maybe you can answer this, because when I think of community and I think about sustainability, it automatically comes into my mind socioeconomic concerns. And I'm just wondering, how can we begin to start making sustainable fashion accessible to lower income groups? Because they're technically supporting fast fashion out of necessity, right? If you're a mom or any parent, mother, father, whatever, and you've got 4 kids, sustainability isn't really the first thing on your mind, right? When you go shopping, it's survival. So, and then we talk about sustainability, it's quite costly. So Diego, do you have thoughts on this at all?
Absolutely. So we have at Ibarra, we are firm believers that sustainability goes beyond the raw materials. Okay, of course they are essential, but it goes beyond that. We believe in craftsmanship, okay, longevity, durability. Because when you purchase an item that lasts longer, when you make a considered purchase, okay, that means that this item that you bought that probably uses the same amount of natural resources to produce, it's something that is not going to go to the bin. So one thing is about educating your customer on that journey. And second, which is something that we've done, which has been very successful, is that how do you make sure that you can produce luxury, that you can produce the best possible product, okay? But how do you reduce the cost of that without affecting the overall quality in the design and manufacturing and in the quality of the raw materials? So last year, we went direct to consumer only. This means that we have stopped wholesaling. We used to wholesale in famous, important boutiques around the world, okay? But the added markup on items, okay, it's a lot. And that drives the price very high. Another thing as well that we want to move from, we've never been there because we've never been close to the brand, but is the importance of hype that fashion builds. So to build hype is very costly. Now, if you can bring craft and you can bring design excellence, okay, to products that last a long time, and you remove the middleman, we felt that we can offer worldwide quality items, okay, for a price that is less than half what it used to cost. They're still expensive, but there are, I mean, a Vanessa Barra product is the best it can be. So as much as if you can reduce those extra costs that digitally you can avoid, because nowadays, for example, from the UK, we can ship to the US in 24 hours. So technology has enabled us to do that. And I think this is about being sustainable as well, is to actually make sure that you can buy a product that is fantastic, you pay way less, and you'll cherish for very long.
Fantastic. Bea, were you about to say something?
Yeah, because I think that it's true. I mean, slow fashion is going to be more expensive than fast fashion, because in fast fashion, someone is paying. I mean, it's like you don't see that, but in the supply chain, because I mean, someone is not being paid a fair wage, or because they're using products that are harmful, so it's cheaper. So I think, of course, a lot, as Diego was saying, has to do with informing and raising awareness on why this product is costing more, you know, like, and also, like, I think the concept of that you make an investment, you want, the idea is to buy something that is going to last longer. It's not like for 1 season or 2 seasons. It's really going to last, maybe if it can last like a lifetime, even better, you know, like, so that you don't have to buy 5 or 10, you're going to buy 1. But But I think one key element, and Diego was also referring to that, is access, how people can have access to that. And one is where they can buy, and I think there are not enough marketplaces where sustainable brands, there are a number of them, and that is helping, so that people can go to a place online or physical and know that the brands there are sustainable or are in that path towards sustainability. But maybe there could be some thinking into whether there's a way of facilitating access financially, like to the people who want to buy something, and maybe they cannot make the investment right away, and there's a way they can buy something, not getting into a debt, but really giving that possibility of accessing, because I think for me that's a key issue, especially for those that don't have that wealth or are not that wealthy. Yes.
Can I say something quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do think for me, this question that you pose is probably one of the most challenging and biggest issues I think we face in sustainability. That how do you make a product that's well made and you can educate a customer, but at the end of the day, if they can't afford it, what do they do? And you see this happen in the food industry a lot, where it's like, buy organic, but it's very expensive.
Right.
And it's easy for me to sit here because I'm at a luxury price point. So for me to, go to an organic cotton versus conventional cotton, it doesn't really change my prices. But I think it's the bit, and I don't even have an answer for this, and it's something I think about a lot, is how do we get a good price point for everyone so that sustainability can be for everyone and not just, a luxury price point. So I think it's the biggest challenge we face.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think, when we start this process of talking about it, sustainability can mean so many things, but we really won't move the needle until we make it so that it's accessible for all.
Yeah.
Diego, I feel like I cut you off, so please.
No, sorry, I interrupted. No, I was just saying that trying to do sustainable fashion means that we go against the grain of fashion. Okay, it goes against what the large corporations want to do, which is more profit, more volumes, always more. And it's difficult to convince a board member that is investing for their retirement, to change that. So what we have to do is to unite ourselves as independent designers for that, because the big companies it goes against capitalism in a way. It goes against the profits in Wall Street or in the city here in London. Right, so it goes much deeper that, and I think that's the potential of independent designers. I think that's why we have to support each other as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think and this will lead to a question from the audience, and I'm interested to hear from Tomas and Althea about this, because we know that technology has helped us as a civilization in many ways, right? It's helped us access and bring information and technology and all these things to developing countries. So when we think about how technology can be introduced in the industry to shape sustainability efforts, what do you all think is the most exciting that could help and then get us there? So Tomas, I love that you raised your hand, by the way.
Yeah, for me, it's all about communication. That goes hand in hand with what Diego just said. And when it comes to social media, right now we have the power to really educate our customer, and not only our customer, but also, let's say in Colombia, the communities that we work with. So we're all communicated, and we could just set a better example. We can show what it means to be sustainable. I mean, when it comes to how do you call it? Slow fashion. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, but that's basically it. It's about communicating the whole idea.
Well, no, so because what you're doing, and you mentioned it earlier, is this creation of using metal with fabric, right? And it would be interesting for, I think, all of the listeners to know how you're using technology to create that, because, or is it being done by hand, or how are you leveraging this to make this so it looks supple, it's nice, but it's still good for the environment?
Well, what we do here is that we use natural fibers and we combine them with modern materials. Here I have an example. But this is all organic silk and copper, but it's all handmade, basically. So there's really no technology when it comes to this. It's all about the design.
Okay.
Basically.
And Althea, I mean, what you're doing out of Jakarta, I'd love to hear how you're using and leveraging technology in the push towards sustainability, or what you think in the industry.
Honestly though, like when it comes to like producing my stuff, like I'm actually embracing like traditional techniques. So like I like the idea like cutting everything like by hands instead of like, oh, let's get a cutting machine. But like I actually love doing it like traditionally. And the artisans that I work with, actually they also like love doing it their own way. So like I think I embrace it, and then I feel like we're more comfortable doing it the traditional way, and I feel like we also like use like less electricity energy too, you know. So
yeah, I actually like that both of you mentioned the fact of things being by hand, because there is this idea that, you know, technology might solve all of the problems, but at the same time, there are some artisan work and craftsmanship that's being lost. I think it's funny that I can talk to people who are younger and they've never felt what true lace work feels like or looks like. That's scary to me, right? But you know, there are frameworks that we do need to look at, and how do we blend the technology with things by hand? And Bea, I think, you know, just from your perspective and the impact from an activist role, and you look out at this, what do you think are some systems or frameworks that we can put on local and global levels?
I think what I'm seeing now, I think that so we have the brands or the designers ourselves. I think there are a number of like, it's like pieces or initiatives that are like emerging, some more on a multinational level, some more local, and they're serving to create that sort of network, you know. For instance, you were mentioning before technology, so we also work, everything we do is like handmade by artisans, but we're using technology and blockchain technology now to try to bring more transparency. And we have partnered with, it's an app, and I think there are a number of them that help us tell our story, so that when you buy a product, there will be like a QR code and you can link into that, and then you can see what is behind, you know. So it's a sort of like bringing the story and in a visible way, but also explaining the whole process so that people understand sustainability, because otherwise it's a concept that it's a little bit too abstract, you know, and there are many ways of interpreting. So I think I'm seeing, of course, you have at the very global level, the Sustainable Development Goals and that 2030 agenda, but it's a little bit too global, you know. We have marketplaces online or like offline in I know, for instance, we work with those guys, the Canvas, that have created that marketplace where they have like 150 brands, you know, and they're doing also a number of things. So I think the more there are those or frameworks or initiatives connecting, the better, to inform the public, to give more access to the public, to enforce, you know, like, so, but I think technology can play a key role, especially when it comes to bring more transparency and to help tell the story. Because I don't believe, for instance, in naming and shaming. I mean, I don't think it's good to tell people you're doing wrong, you shouldn't buy this. We need to explain what they should buy and give options, you know. So in this sense, I think technology can really help, you know, explain what sustainability is about, and also help brands, you know where they are standing in that journey, because it's also a journey, you know, like with regards to the people you work with regards to the materials, with regards to the different things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you brought up and you said a really important word, which is transparency, right? And transparency and framework, it really goes hand in hand. And I actually love that you brought up the fact of shaming. I think we get into this point where we love to shame organizations that aren't doing what we think they should be doing, or people. And we forget that it could just be a simple thing of telling people what it is that needs to be done next and how to do something efficiently. But because you brought up transparency and QR codes, I want to ask the panel, and Jonathan, I'm going to throw this at you first, is what are your thoughts on price transparency, right, when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, I think in general, it's a very important conversation. I'm happy to see it's starting to happen a lot more. Like even when I talk to customers or editors, they're starting to bring that up more, because I think people think, oh, you're a luxury price point because like you want to be bougie and you want to be chic. And it's like, sometimes it's really important for people to understand what it what goes into a product for why it costs that much. People don't realize like how much the fabric costs, how much, shipping costs, keeping your lights on, and also how much, and to make sure that the workers who are making the clothing are being paid fairly. That all costs money. So I think people don't really realize that. They just see the product, they get it, and they just see the price and they're like, that's it. So they don't understand why it's like that. So I think the conversation is important to have a lot more so that people understand why something costs the way it does. And then even when you're buying like a t-shirt that's $11, really start to think and break it down on how that can cost $11. And
Right.
then really someone's not getting a cut from that. You know, so I think it's important to have those conversations so that when people do see a higher price point, they understand why. In some cases, sometimes it is just, and that's a whole different topic. But I think as companies, it's important that we explain why our products cost whatever they do and how we got it to that price point.
And I think this is going to be really important right now. Tomas, I'm coming right to you because of what we see happening with countries going into developing countries and what we need to do to ensure that there's not exploitation of those workers. And that, so Tomas, I want to let you speak on that. And then Diego, I know that that topic of exploitation is something that sits with you as well. So I want you to speak on that too. So Tomas?
So going back to the question about storytelling, basically, or transparency, is that like in Verdi, what we try to do about the fair price is to merge it with our story so we can educate the customer. So just throw it in our storytelling and just talk about the materials, talk about where we source them, talk about the manual labor, but don't just throw it directly at fair pricing or use that word, but just educate by showing what's going on, and then people will start to understand. So that's what we basically do.
That's great. In most companies, I think that education is key to this, right? People like being educated on what your company is about. So Diego, I want to give you the opportunity before we take a question from the audience to speak on this.
Sure. So, exploitation can happen anywhere. Okay, if you look deep enough, it happens in Europe too. Everything we manufacture is made in Brazil, near my house where I'm from. And an advice to whomever wants to kind of like new designers or start a brand is to get to know who actually makes the product. I have on my WhatsApp pretty much any person in the manufacturing part of things. Okay, I know where they live, how they live. I know who they're dating pretty much. I know if they're sad, if they're happy, because I have a very personal relationship with the embroidery person, with the person who cuts the leather, with the person who masters the shoe, the person. So I actually have this personal touch with everyone that touches our shoes in manufacturing. So I know better than me to ensure that the people that I work with or the people that I employ are people who are being treated the best possible way. And if there are any issues, they can come direct to me. So there is this direct touch point between brand and the actual person who makes it. So it's not a production manager being in between the brand and who is actually making, but it's having the brand. I know it's very difficult to do it, but maybe because we're a smaller brand, I'm actually able to continue doing it. Of the
Right.
customer relationship with everyone.
And being nimble. That's a great point. I'm going to end us with a question from the audience. And Althea, I would like for you to go first. The question is, do you think the industry is moving fast enough? And what would you like to see happen in an ideal world?
I think I would like to see it slower down a bit, because like we've been, especially like after this pandemic, we all been like, like questioning what's the future of like Fashion Week, and then what is like wholesale gonna look like? Are we all going to direct to consumers? So definitely I would like to see the industry going slower. That way we can be more sustainable and we can educate more people. And eventually people are more educated and they will, buy less fast fashion and shifting towards more, like independent designers and support more designers from, local around the world.
Thank you. Bea, any thoughts from you?
I think like it's moving. I'm seeing a lot of movement when it comes to independent designers or small like companies or brands like us, no, in a way. And what you were saying, Diego, really resonates with us because we also know we don't vertically integrate like the artisans we work with, but we work in partnership with all of them. So we know them on a personal basis. The problem comes with bigger companies or bigger brands. And especially when they outsource, So what I would like to see is more responsibility on their side, because I think it's very easy to say, because it's not as we buy to them or we buy in Bangladesh, we buy in Cambodia, we cannot control. And I don't agree with that. And also because some of those workshops, they don't know better. So they need to help to work in a different way. And this is what, Tomas, you were saying, for instance, about even those families that you were working with. That, they were using traditional techniques that are really rooted, but maybe they have like hazardous sort of effects, So those big companies need to have a responsibility towards the workshops where they source, and they need to share the burden also and help them change also like some of the systems, to make them more sustainable. I don't think that the responsibility can only be put up at the end of that in those countries because it won't happen. Yeah.
Great point. Jonathan, we have 5 minutes, I think.
Okay, I'll go quick. I also think kind of what they were saying, I think also the responsibility can't just come on the designer a lot of the times. I think we as an industry need to start looking at also the way that stores are working, how, all these different supply chains are moving. Because I think a lot of times, you have stores that might buy designers who are sustainable and they might promote it, and they look like they're really on board with everything. But I think we also have to like kind of look at their infrastructures and see what are they doing to also help push sustainably forward in a 360 kind of way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Diego?
Are we in the question? Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think the industry is moving fast enough. Of course not. Yeah. That's again, all going back to what I said before. I think independent designers should get together to create a movement, okay, to encourage like the young generation, for them to understand that we've got technology in our hands, okay? The big brands are not gonna do that because it goes against the board. It's just an economical. It's math. So basically, we are in a very good position, okay, because we've got the internet to help us to get our message across. So I think it's going to take a little while, but I don't think we should be thinking that someone big is going to do something to help. No, we are going to do it, like brick by brick, like a brick wall behind us. Joining, we're going to build it. That's how I think it's going to happen. We are going to do it, not somebody else. We have to get together to do it.
We have to do it.
100%.
Tomas, I'll let you have the final word.
Yeah, sure. I think the industry has always been moving extremely fast. And that's one of the things that I've appreciated of all of this crisis that we're going through. It has actually just to put the, brakes, especially here in Colombia, and it has given all us time to think, to really stop and, just look around, not only at work, at life, and just, let's say, how do you say it? We interpret what you're doing or rethink what you're doing. So I always think, and then I also think it also comes to education and just the customer. So little by little, I think that, the customer is appreciating what slow fashion is, what is happening, the dangers of fast fashion. And I think that movement will spread and eventually have a huge impact on the industry.